Hello and welcome everybody. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Thank you for joining. And hello,
Hi
Michael. How are you?
everyone.
How are you doing?
Hi everyone.
Yeah.
I'm doing well. We had a really great weekend visiting our friends in Berlin and playing a lot of board games. So that was really nice.
Nice. Did you have better weather,
Yeah,
or
yeah, it
no
was
need for good
okay.
weather when you play board games?
Yeah, it was okay. It rained a few times, but not like crazy. And so we were also able to get have some fun outside as well. So that was good. Good food, good company. What else do you? So it
No,
was
sounds good.
was really great. Cool. And yourself? How was your weekend?
It was good. I was at my niece. Well, actually, my sister, because my niece doesn't have her own place yet. She's 3 years old. But I was with my niece and a nephew and spent time in the playground. So
Also not bad, but hopefully you didn't play in the mud or
no,
wet,
no,
wet
it was not.
outside.
Yeah, no, it was okay. It was yeah, well, it was raining yesterday, but then it cleared up
Yeah.
and it was immediately dry again. So it was good. It was fun. Yeah,
And a week
pretty
from now
good.
we'll actually be in sunny Boston, right? So it's actually always until we'll be here.
Exactly. And your sound is again a little bit strange. I was thinking maybe it's my connection, but then again,
Okay, I'll try to
um,
switch over again to the
I think we need
AirPods.
to
One
switch. Yeah,
second.
I hear some. It comes in
Here.
duplicate, so that's really strange.
Okay, so hope that's better.
I hope so. Should be.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah,
Sounds good.
let us know in chat if Michael is not cannot be understood well. But yeah, you said it already, and your T-shirt also hints at
Yep,
it.
I actually
GraphConnect is
pulled it
coming
out of out of the shelf, out of the wardrobe.
out
So
of the out of the cupboards. I still have one of those as well. I didn't find it in time, so I'm wearing just regular stuff. But
yeah, and my
yeah.
GraphConnect t-shirts actually go back all the way till 2012 or so when we had the first one. So lots of very colorful and not so colorful t-shirts for GraphConnect.
Yeah, lots of
Let's
orange.
see what this year's t-shirt looks like.
Yeah,
Would
I'm
be
I'm
a
I'm
surprise.
I'm looking forward as well. GraphConnect is usually lots of fun and great to interact with community and Neo4j folks and everybody around. So it's really, yeah. If you are thinking about going, if you are not sure if you should go, it's really great, and you get by using the community 50 code, you get 50% off your ticket. So
Actually, good point. I was thinking actually if we should give our viewers of the stream and readers of the blog post a unique opportunity to get a bunch of free tickets. So I want to propose that whoever sends me an email to michael@neo4j.com, I'll try to get the first 10 people a free ticket to GraphConnect. So
all
if you want
right.
to come, if you're not coming yet, if you want to come, perhaps that's an incentive for you to consider it to come
Yeah,
to Austin next week with us.
yeah, you hear it, you heard it. Send
Yep,
Michael an email,
yep,
and,
go for
and
it.
we see what we can do. If you don't want to refer on luck or rely on luck rather, use the discount code. But you mean, why might as well try. You might
Yep,
get lucky, and send Michael an email, and we'll see what we can do.
yep, exactly.
So yeah, I guess if you want to meet us also, maybe that's another reason for you to go. Then we will be there, and lots of other people you might have seen in streams or other presentations from Neo4j. So that the whole team will be around. So I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be good,
Yeah, good
and
fun.
exciting.
Yeah,
So today we will actually go over this, and we will explore the agenda a little bit and see what is in store at GraphConnect next week. Um, before we do that, I give a little recap. So we talked about this already. So like we said, 50% off by using the Community 50 discount, or send Michael an email for a completely free ticket. And the first 10 will get one.
Yep.
So we'll see who is the lucky one. Other than that, let's dive in.
Yep.
Hands-on with AuraDB free. So the plan is, as usual, but I'll just repeat it nonetheless. We pick a data set today, obviously the GraphConnect agenda. So we looked at that and we load the data set into Neo4j. We think about what questions we will ask, which makes sense. We load and query that data and put it in an AuraDB free instance to check out what what the agenda looks like, what topics we touch, I guess, what industries are a focus of the show, and what other things could be interesting when you are about to go and thinking about, okay, how can I structure my day, how can I plan it best, what is interesting for me personally, and how to find out more what's going to happen at GraphConnect. And what is AuraDB free? So quickly, it's the free version of Neo4j AuraDB. So AuraDB is our graph database as a service offering. So there you can use Neo4j as a cloud graph database. You get a free edition that's completely free for you. All you need to do is register with your email address, and you get 50,000 nodes and 175,000 relationships, which is plenty to try out. I mean, we're doing these sessions now for a couple of weeks, and we always, for testing and for fun, there was enough space to do basically load any data set we came across. Sometimes we had to slice and dice a little bit, but more or less everything works with this space. Obviously, if you want to go bigger, and this is supposed to go into a kind of like the projects phase, then you might need to expand, but then there is an upgrade pathway. You get access to Neo4j Bloom and browser, so this is the visualization, the query platform. It's free forever, so you can keep it, and as long as you like, you will have it. And all you need to do is go to this landing page, and I'll post a link in chat now. And you're ready to go. If you want to see how it works and what you can do, just follow the stream today, and we show you. Otherwise, you can always explore by yourself on your own. Yeah, I think that's it. Let's switch to your screen.
Yeah, thank you. And actually, I want to use the opportunity. I back to the Flickr page of Neo4j and reminisce over the last events, like good old times. So it goes all the way back to 2012, as I said, right? So GraphConnect 2012, the first one. So we looked all very young back then.
Yeah.
And like Jim here and folks, I'm also somewhere here, Max, bunch of other folks. So if you want to, just Pernilla as well. So Philip. So lots of folks, and they've all gotten a little bit older. But here's Michael, the community corner.
You haven't changed.
And this was actually our community corner where we actually went to IKEA for the first GraphConnect. So Peter, our co-founder, Andreas, and I drove a truck to IKEA, and then we basically bought all the furniture that you can see here on the picture.
Mm-hmm.
And then we set up our community corner as an IKEA corner, which was quite a lot of fun. And actually at last GraphConnect, so this is I think from last GraphConnect in New York. So just to remind you how good it can be to see people in person. So lots of good people. There's Michael again, Jennifer, and David in our dev zone. Will doing his presentation, and Lou and ABK manning the developer zone as well. And so good times. Elaine is handing out certified t-shirts, and so we'll have that and more coming up again. So make sure if you can make it to come join us. So
absolutely, that was a while ago, and it's great fun.
It's about time to go.
It's about time exactly that we meet again, and this is the perfect space if you are interested in graphs, and I guess you are when you watch the stream. Then this is the place to be.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. And so for today, we wanted to do something that we've done for many other conferences, including GraphConnect, which is kind of to create a conference graph. So I think Rick has done a few of those in past years, but we thought that Alex had the idea that it could be nice to kind of just pull in the schedule, look at it, and look at it as a graph shape as such, right? So from that perspective, we just click on create database in our Aura instance and can create an AuraDB free, and we just call it GraphConnect. Connect. I picked Belgium because that's closest to me. I can open it I use a blank database. I copy the password somewhere safe. And while it's setting up, where's my GraphConnect here? Setting up the instance. I'll just we'll just look at the data a little bit and the data a model, and it takes like 2 or 3 minutes for it to set up. So basically, as usual in schedules, if you go to the GraphConnect page, we have the agenda down here. Where is it?
There was
browse agenda. Yeah, exactly. So here's the agenda with like the breakdown for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then all the sessions are here. So you can also search for things. You can search for companies and so on. So you can also say, okay, I want to search, for instance, I don't know, data science, and then hopefully I should see data science related things, right? And so this is more like a tabular version of a schedule, and then you see each talk, like who gives the talk, and then abstract and title. And so no times here yet, which is a little bit surprising, but hopefully they come this week. Today is also Memorial Day, I think, in the US. So
yeah, today is a public holiday in the States. Yeah. And as far as I know, there will be an app released also this week.
Yep, that's true.
Which will help you plan your day and also register for the workshops. If you booked a ticket and are wondering when can you select the workshops, because there are a couple workshops, and this will be available through the app, but also on the website, I think, with an update later this week.
Exactly. So originally I thought we could kind of just scrape the HTML here, but because there's no detail and no breakdown of the data, we just snuck in and kind of copied the data from the internal planning. So we have 2 CSVs or spreadsheets. So one is, let me make this a little bigger. I hope this is readable. One is
maybe a little bit more. Maybe zoom in one more time. Yeah, that's better.
So is this better? So this is basically the talk. So we have the talk with its title and abstract, use case. Their use case is actually a comma separated list, so something to remember for later. Type of the session, audience, topic, industry, and then we have what kind of level of experience is expected, and then speaker information, full name, last name, first name, last name, full name, job title, and bio of the speaker. That's one part. And then the other one is the schedule, which basically has the date, title, start time, end time, type of session, and then the start and end time also as ISO dates as well. And so that's our 2 spreadsheets. I also put them up already in the GitHub repository. So if you want to follow along, I linked the published CSVs here as well. So if I open this, it should actually open the thing as a CSV, and you can download it as a CSV as well. But I also downloaded them to my machine, so we can use data importer as such.
Yeah. Right. What was maybe important to note, when this might be changing a little bit between now and official schedule publishing. So we obviously said we relied on internal data here, and we use it, and it doesn't have the rooms associated with it, as far as I know. So a little bit might change. So check out the schedule, the official schedule, on the website or on the mobile app for final confirmation. But I think we are close enough.
Yeah, I think so too. And so that gives us at least the structure, and then if you want to do more, you can always look into it more. So we just looked at the columns here, right? So that's what we have. And that's also what's in the CSV. And if you now go back to our Aura instance, it would have been started. Yes. So that means we can now start importing and getting our data in. So I just open data importer. And after a second or two, I have my data importer here where we can develop the model. So let me just add the two files. I think I have it somewhere in downloads. Yeah, GraphConnect Talks and GraphConnect Schedule. And so basically, it's pretty straightforward, right? So we have the, as we said, we have the session as a node here, which is presented by a speaker. So these are the things that we already mentioned. Presents. And this is kind of our basic structure. The speaker works at a company, so we had company as well in there in the data. Right? So if you look at the sessions again, so here we have the company of the speaker and the speaker's information here. So if you start with this, which is pretty straightforward, we can just say this is our talks file, and we select the speaker related information. So first name, last name, full name, job title, and bio. Confirm and select the full name as the ID. For the company, we select the same file and add company here as a field, which is also our ID, and then we have an works at relationship between speaker and company, and move from full name here to the company field and map our speaker part of the schedule. For the session itself, it's pretty straightforward as well. So we basically take the ID of the session, we take the use case, which is the comma separated list, the title, the abstract, and that's it, I think. And select the title as an our ID property here, and map from speaker to session. So this is a denormalized file, so each speaker can show up multiple times. So that's basically something that the data importer handles itself. Right? So that's kind of the speaker part of and the session part of our data model. And now the second part is basically all the attributes that we want to pull out. Right? If you remember, we have like industry over here. I hope this is readable. Otherwise, I can make it a little bit bigger. Like this.
Yeah, that works. Yeah.
So we have industry, topic, audience, type, and experience. Oh, we forgot to map the bio to the speaker. Why didn't we add the bio to the speaker here? So you see stuff that's been mapped is turning green, which is really nice. So we know what's kind of left. And then we basically can pull things out. So for instance, industry, and then we select the file again. We say add from file, we pick industry. We select the ID for the industry as well. We say for industry. And then we select our file again and map from the session title to the industry again. And so this way we do it for all the properties basically, right? So,
yep.
Which is a little bit more tedious than it should be, but I think it will get easier in the future when data import is able to auto map stuff through as well. So anyway, so that's what we do one by one. And because I don't want to do this all manually while you're watching, I actually saved this as an, let's see, where do we have it? Here, in the GitHub repository. So I saved basically the model with the mapping in the GitHub repository, so you can actually download it and come along here. So there's here data importer, GraphConnect schedule from today, and so you can download this zip file and import it or load it here.
The links to that are in the video description on YouTube. So
yeah. And or we can paste it again into the chat as well.
I can post it in chat as well. Yeah, let me do that. But if you're wondering, it's gonna be in
Yeah. So that's basically mapping like type, industry, topic, experience, audience from the session. So you see everything is green now. That's for the talks file. And then there's a little trick we can do for mapping the second file, which is basically additional information for the session. And it works like this. We just create a second node which has a session label, so the same label. And then we select the schedule file and map the properties from the file. So date, title, start time, end time, type of the session, start and end as an UTC ISO timestamp. And we select title as the same ID. So the ID field is kind of the same as our session ID. And because the two inputs are run one after the other, it basically just adds the additional properties to the existing node. And it doesn't really matter in which order it's run because it's all additive basically, right? Which is really nice.
Just added in addition as more properties.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's a trick that you can use if you have multiple CSV files for the same node. Then you can just create extra nodes for these other files, and they are mapped on the same ID. So as long as the ID is comparable between the files, like we have here with the title, that actually works.
So we didn't want to do something like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday as separate
We
nodes.
could pull it out if we want to. That's something that we can do probably in post-processing if you want to as an exercise as such. But just to get the data in, because data importer currently also does not yet support datetime properties. So that's something that
we need to map. We need to
we need to do it anyway, right? So from that perspective, that's currently what we have. Okay, and then I basically just click on run import. I just have to provide a password that I saved away somewhere. And if I do this, and click on run, it should take only like 5 seconds or so to import the data. It's not a lot of data.
Yeah, and if you do this in non-prepared, then you have to obviously also add the link, the Neo4j link to your AuraDB database.
Yeah, exactly. But because I opened it from Aura, it actually adds it automatically, so I don't need to.
Yeah, okay.
If I click on this button, then it actually opens
then it fills it in. Okay, cool.
Yeah. And so it takes 6 seconds, and now we see basically it creates our session with the information of title, abstract ID, and use case, and then the speaker, and then the industry, the topic, experience, type, company, and then this is the second session. That's the one with the dates, right? So you see it basically does the same. Merge the session into the graph. So if the session already exists in the graph, it will just use the existing one and then just sets these additional properties on the session.
Yeah.
Right. So that's how it works under the hood. Cool. And so from that perspective, we can look at our data in the graph. So it's all in there and no errors. So it should be all good. Super. So we can go back to our Aura instance and say, click on query. And query gives us Neo4j browser, and we paste in the password again to connect. And then we should have some data in our database. Let's wait a second. Yeah, it is. So we have all these nodes that we talked about and all the relationships. So if I click on a relationship, we see a subset of the data here as well. And so we can zoom out a little bit. If I remove the limit here, actually, it can also render all the data. We can probably go into full screen. So we see like this, the whole conference schedule as such. And
nice.
So we can see this all in one go. So all these end nodes are companies of like individual presenters. And some of them have multiple, like the Neo4j one, I think, has multiple people in there. Yeah. But we also have different audiences and so on. So we see our data is in here, so which is great. So that's good news. And now we can basically start looking at the data in a little bit more detail. But first, remember what we said about the sessions and the use cases. We have a bunch of sessions. Let's see if we find one. Their use case is actually here, a comma-separated list of different use cases, right?
Yeah.
So that's something that we want to sort out.
Yeah.
To split. Exactly. So you can either copy the statement here from our description, or I can also work through it. I'll work through it, but if you want to see how we did it, that's basically here in the document as well. So what we do is basically we find our sessions, so with match session, so similar as we had it, and then we basically take our use case property and split it by unwind split as dot use case. We split it by comma and space as use case, and then we don't want to have the ones that are empty where not trim, so we don't want to have any like spaces left and right. We don't want to have the empty ones, so just in case there's like a comma with nothing behind it, then we don't want to have these.
Okay.
And then we can use this. So the split turns a string into a list of elements, and unwind turns this list into a row. So each of these elements in the list basically is turned into a row, and now we can do with each row basically we create an use case name trim UC. That's our use case, and then basically connect the session into for use case into this relationship, right? So for each of these elements of the list, we create one use case if it doesn't exist yet, and then we connect the session to our use case. So if I run this, it should complain. Why does it complain? Trim. Oh, sorry. This needs to be you. So it added 18 use cases and created 302 relationships. So that also means that some sessions have multiple relationships as well, right? So if I click now on use case, I see, for instance, if I click on a cloud use case, then I see like all the sessions that have this use case. But also if I expand one session, then I see that they have sometimes multiple use cases. So,
yeah, this has more. Yeah, exactly.
Right. So actually, which reminds me, let's perhaps look at this individual sessions again. So now that we split out use cases, what we now can do is basically we can look at an individual session like this one. So we can actually see what's in here. So we have our session, our speaker. So it currently has for speaker the first name, but we want to see the full name. So Mike Morley is presenting the session. Topic is VR. That's the level, basic to intermediate. Full-length session for developers, Cypher. So you see here's a Cypher and data science as use cases and graph visualization, right? So and Aura, 4 use cases actually.
Yeah.
And this is the industry basically here as such, which is professional services. Okay. So and then we could expand each of them and say, okay, what else is there in terms of this kind of use case or this? Let's say if we click on the for industry professional services, let's see if there's anything else. No, that's the only one for professional services. But if we click on Aura, for instance, we see these other sessions also for this Aura use case. So, right. So we see that kind of sessions share different attributes, the ones that we kind of talked about here. Including the speaker, which is also an attribute of the session, kind of, right? So it's kind of something that can be shared between multiple sessions. And then the speaker also has their company as well, right? So from that perspective, that's kind of our basic data model and the data that we have in here. And now we can look at the data in some different shapes. So one could be, for instance, to see for our use cases, which are the most frequent use cases that are represented at the conference with sessions, right? So something simple that we can do is we can just say use case. So we kind of find how many for use case, how many sessions does each use case have, right? So this is a session here, right? And we just say count star or count session as count, and then order by count descending gives us the use cases and how frequently they are used. Right? So if I run this, then we see, for instance, 44 data science related, 39 developers, which is more apps and API development, 28 Cypher related one, 28 best practice ones, 26 language specific, which is basically Java, JavaScript, Go, Python, .NET specific ones, or Go. 23 graph visualization, and so on. Right? So that's something that we can then see kind of what is represented. 5 GraphQL sessions, 12 full stack sessions, and 15 security sessions. That's interesting. Right? So lots of interesting stuff. So that's one thing that we can do. Another thing we can do is basically are certain overlaps, do certain overlaps exist here in our data? So for instance, we could say, how do use cases overlap with, let's say, industries here, right?
Yeah.
So if you say, what kind of use cases are available in which industry? So that means we just take our pattern here that we already have for the use case, and we just extend it to industry. So, right, industry, and so at this time we return the use case and the industry both, and count how often this pair of use case and industry shows up, and then sort them by frequency, perhaps limit them by 10. So we see, for instance, that there's a lot of Java industry, which is not so helpful, right? So
Yeah.
That's actually something that we can include, where not i.industry is, let's say, in the list, just in case more than one show up general, right? So we can exclude them, and now it becomes interesting, right? So because now we see, oh, there's actually 7 healthcare data science combos, right? So which is really nice. Biotech, you could even add them to healthcare, so we're already at 10, right? So and then okay, then data science and finance, or knowledge graphs and aerospace, or data science and graph visualization and telecom, right? So that's kind of basically what are the like main combos in here as such, right? Or we could also say, instead of industry, we pick something else. So we, for instance, we could say, let's say if you have a topic here, and say for topic, or on topic, I think it's called, on topic, and then we just return the t.topic. Let me call this t. So then we get an overlap between topic and industry, right? So that's something, a different combination, right? So then that's more knowledge graphs focused as such, right? Or graph data science again, right? Or fraud and financial is also pretty obvious that makes sense as in, right? And so that's something else that we can do.
We could also, I guess we could, if you go back to the last query, if we also count the total let's say health, in the first example, like if you also count the total healthcare sessions, then we know, okay, from out of all healthcare sessions, 7 are from data science, and I don't know, 2 are knowledge graphs or something else, and then we have like okay,
percentage,
this kind of almost like a percentage,
yeah. So that's something that we can also do, when we just say, if you just want to get the industry count, we can just do a query upfront, which says with count star industry, count star as total industry, right? And then we just take our industry here that we already matched, and then we can actually say it's basically count times 100 by total, so we know as which percentage basically is this, right? So we can also return the total as well. Oops.
Yeah, total industry.
Yeah, sorry. Total industry. Actually, because this is actually a total. See, because this is actually a VS Code editor, it actually supports this kind of stuff. So what else did I do? Oh, because the count is computed inline, so we need to do a 2-step thing here. Use case as industry and return. Oh, let me do this this way. Count star. Just can compute count star twice, basically. What? Total as percent. Oh, sorry, I went back too much. So. And now it doesn't show us anything. Why? For industry, because the arrow here is pointing in the wrong direction. So, so we see basically that 77% of all the healthcare, of the 9 healthcare talks are actually in data science, or 4 out of 4 finance talks are also in data science. Good idea. Right, so you see kind of where's the majority of the talks, basically in which industry as such.
Yeah, and then you see the other non-data science talks in healthcare in knowledge graph, basically.
Yeah, 1/3, right? So
1/3, yeah.
Really nice. Good idea. Okay. The other thing that we have as data in here, as you remember, we added the times as well. Oh, that's the other thing that I wanted to say that we forgot to do so far. Where's this? Here. So you see we have the time information in here. And so this is currently still a string. So if you hover over it, it's a string here. But of course, you want to turn this into proper date objects. So what we do is basically we just set those attributes, set n dot or s dot date. We turn this into a date as such. Right. So the state string is turned into a proper date object by calling this date function here, and we do the same for start and end. So this is actual and local time s dot start.
So date is just basically year, month, day, and local time is including the time.
Yeah. So there's actually date time, which includes time zone, but local date time is basically date and time without time zone. And there's also time, which is then basically just the time information, which would be this one here.
Just the time. Okay. Yeah.
And so we could set the other ones as well. S dot start time, which is then local time from s dot start time, and same for end time. S dot end time is local time, s dot end time, and time. Right, and I hope this works. And if we now look at our sessions again, they are now all and date type. So this says state, this says local date time, this says local time. Right, and they don't have time zone information here. So we could add things with time zone information if we wanted to. Then we could also compute like the delta to, let's say, CET and say, okay, when is the session running, and could I basically listen in or something like that, right?
Yeah, but I think it's fine. I mean, it's a local event, so it's
exactly. So, and now we can actually use this to show us the schedule of a day, right? So because so for instance, if you want to see for the, let's say on Tuesday the 6th, we could actually say just show us the sessions for where n dot date date of 2022 06/06, right? So then it basically and just return us the titles of the sessions. So these are all the sessions on the 6th, and then we can basically say we also return n dot start or n dot start time, depending. Right, so this is the full with date, you can either return n.start time here, which is just the time, or we could imagine we don't have the time stored separately. We can also just say local time of n.start, and it would only return the time portion of
from the longer value, so it ignores
so that's
the actual date.
Both options here, right? Okay, and then we probably also want to sort it by start time.
Yeah.
So we get these, and you see all of them are starting at 10 a.m. and then 10:30 and so on. So what we can now do is actually collect the titles into one, so that we get only one entry per time slot, basically, as such. Right? So, sorry, that's the wrong line. So we want to collect the titles into a list, and so we see for each session, for each time slot, we see now which talks are happening at this time slot.
We could also split it out, I guess, by type, saying is it a longer session or a short session?
So I think we have either type here on the session. Type on the session itself.
I think type is a separate. Oh no, is it?
Yeah, we have
here already. Yep.
I think that's from the other CSV. It kind of got added here as well, right? So, so you see now what are the full-length session, what's the workshop on this day, and what's the lightning talks basically at this time, right? So that's something that we can also do as well. Cool. The other thing that I wanted to look at is recommendations. So imagine we really like a session. How can we see similar or dissimilar sessions, right? So that's kind of the interesting question. So
that's interesting.
Because as you know, we have all these attributes that are shared basically between sessions, right? So I could basically say, what are the attributes that are shared between two sessions, right? So if I, for instance, just take two sessions like S1 and S2, S1 and S2 session. We just get one row with them.
Return n.
Yeah, right. S1, S2.
S2, yeah.
Then we get our pair here of two sessions. There's the second one. It's hiding away somewhere. Oh, it's the same. Okay, where S1 is not equal S2. Right. So here's our two sessions. So we can make them chase each other, of course, in the browser. But what we also can now say, don't just give me the sessions, but also they're actually sharing attributes, right? So like topic, type, industry, speaker, and all the other things, right? So kind of what kind of attributes are they sharing between them, right? So what we can say now is basically give me the attributes and also the count of the attributes, how many are there, right? So how many shared attributes are between the two sessions, and what are the attributes, right? Let's say we call this overlap, right? So, and if I didn't make a mistake, count as S. So now we see basically our two sessions, and this is kind of the overlap between the two, right? So basically, if we now expand these, we see that the audience and the type is the overlap between our two sessions, right? And the more attributes two sessions share, the more similar they are, right? So because if it's same industry, same type, same use case, same presenter, and so on, same audience level, then it's very similar sessions, at least in terms of coverage as such, right? So that means if we now order our matches by frequency, descending, so that's kind of the high overlap sessions come back first, order by frequency descending. Now we see that's an overlap of 9. So that's 2 sessions that are very, very much
Very
overlap.
similar. Yeah.
So if you see them again, where's our session here? If you expand them again, so these should actually have a lot of overlaps, right? Same use cases, same audience level, same industry, and so on, right? So there's it's mostly the use case overlap here. Can you do that?
Yeah, if you zoom in a little bit, then it's better to read. But yeah.
Right. So, but that kind of identifies sessions that are similar, right? So that means if you pick a session from our, let's say, from our schedule also, right? So if you had in our schedule, let's see what could be interesting. Cloud security, right? So let's say cloud security is a session that we're interested in.
Yeah.
Then we can actually say, okay, our session 1 s1.title equals cloud security, right? So that means we're getting a recommendation which other sessions are similar to session 1. And if we don't take a limit of 5, but a limit of, don't take a limit of 1, but a limit of 5, and we don't have to return our session first session and return the title of the second session, then we can actually look at this data here. Let me make this small. So we see this is kind of a recommendation. This is how many overlaps are there, and these are kind of the topics that they overlap on as an initialization, right? So that's kind of cloud security, RBAC, not more stuff, Fabric in Kubernetes, and so on, right? And if you don't want to have similar, so what you can also do is if you don't want to have similar one, you can just inverse the frequency, and then it's as little overlap as possible, right? So then it's basically at most once, right?
I'm
because
not interested at all in security. Yeah.
Right? So they have as little overlap with security as possible, right? So which is kind of interesting. So that's also if you want to have a little bit more diversity in your session.
It's like an anti-recommendation, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Or you can also skip or limit, or say I want to have things that have only like an overlap of 2, or you can actually exclude or include certain types of attributes that you want to have overlapped, right, or not overlapped, or so, right? So there are some things that you can basically say, okay, I really want to have the same, let's say, audience level or something like that, or like I'm a beginner, so I only want to see beginner sessions also, right? So and then that's something that you can actually include, and then other things you can again exclude. So that's then going into a real recommendation system as well, right? And if you want to get additional information for your session, then you can basically just say, we fetch our counts and do our aggregation here, but then we actually can get access more information. So for instance, if you also want to see the presenter in our results, then we can basically return, get our top 5 hits, and then we can fetch other stuff from these sessions, right? So we can also say s2.title, speaker dot full name, and we could even add like the company of the speaker as well, right? Company, and then we return our frequency and our overlap, right? So that means we do our recommendation, get our 5 top matching elements. If you want to do descending, and then we can fetch additional information for this session over here, right? So that means then I see, okay, this is by Jeff from Neo4j, and this is from Adam from Jupyter-1, and so on, right? So I basically see more details for the recommended session. And then if you turn this into a parameter, then you basically can turn this into something that is served by an API, for instance, and you get recommendations for the session that the current person looks at. You can say related sessions, for instance, right? And then you can imagine here on the
you could run it in Bloom if you like.
Exactly.
For instance.
Yeah. So for instance, imagine here on this thing, this would also do the API call to our recommendation, And then for each session that you unfold here, you would see like 2 or 3 or 5 related sessions, basically.
Yeah, exactly. I think this is very
Cool.
valuable in this plan your day kind of scenario where you you pick a couple of sessions you're interested in and you see, okay, these are most likely up your alley, and then you if you then get 2-3 per session that are different,
exactly.
but close enough to that session, then you might not have realized that they are interesting as well, and then you can.
Which reminds me of something else I also wanted to add is basically I wanted to also say, and I also want to ensure that these 2 sessions are not overlapping.
I just wanted to say, that would be helpful.
So what would be the expression? So we want to say either they have a different date, then they don't overlap, right? Start. Or we can actually say just use the date attributes. So you can also wrap date around the start thing, then you get only the date information, and so on. This one dot date is not equal, or s1 dot start time is not equal to s2 dot start time. Right. So either they are at a different date, or if they are on the same date, then at least the start times are not the same. Right.
Yeah.
And then I would get sessions that don't overlap with my, which is also interesting then for session building, for schedule building, actually, that you don't want to have overlaps of similar sessions as well.
Absolutely,
right?
yeah.
So that's something else that you can do here. But you just mentioned Bloom, so that's something that we can also look at. If you click on Bloom, I just grab my password again and put in username Neo4j and password to open Bloom. Then this is something where we can also visually inspect our sessions, right? So I think I forgot something, which is create constraint on or index on use case, because the use case is something that we just created. Assert use case dot name is unique. And then we just need to refresh the perspective here. Quick. Okay. And then we can basically say use case, let's say application, apps, and APIs. Again, use case, apps. Why does it do for use case? It's weird.
Do you need to do? Oh, okay.
I actually thought, so for instance, if I say use case data science, it should actually do it correctly, right? Data.
I think, do you need to do the use case?
Here.
Yeah, okay. I thought with a doppelpunkt.
I mean, colon. Yeah, so you
colon,
can do
yes,
like,
thank you.
Okay, yeah. Or just the attribute here. I thought it can actually detect the attribute automatically. So data science, and then from data science, we want to go to session, to speaker, to company.
Yep.
Right. And so this is our graph pattern here. And then if we, let me just clear this scene here. If you are in this graph pattern, then these are all the data science talks basically. With data science as a use case in the middle, and then like all the people that are speaking on that, and then the green ones are the companies as such. So that's how you can visually explore this kind of data, right? And then you can say, okay, what's connecting these things, for instance, right? So then I can also look at kind of who else from Northrop Grumman is presenting, and then you can basically say expand relationships. Does it put us, or does it not have more relationships? Nobody else? Oh, because it's also twice here already. So they seem to have different data quality. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Data quality issues. So, but you can imagine that's kind of like if you pick like Neo also as a company, we can say, okay, who else from Neo4j? There was Alicia somewhere. I saw Alicia somewhere. Was she? Then you can also see who else from this company is presenting. Here you have a bunch of Neo4j people already, right? So that's they then can expand and say, okay, who else from this company is presenting as well, right? So there's a lot of Neo folks, of course, doing this, right? So that's something where then can visually expand things, or you could, for instance, say, I think what you said before, Alex, is
yeah,
if
this
I
was to
use
say
this as
here we could use this
search phrase or something like that, right? So where you then can say, okay, can we create this as a search phrase, and then say recommendation for, and then session, and then we paste in our query, put in session here, and say suggestion is session title.
Mm-hmm.
And we just return instead of the individual stuff, we just return the path here, such, right?
Yeah.
So it's also visual. Okay, and then if we try this, let me clear this scene here. You can say recommendation for, and then, for instance, uptimes. Then we see, then this is our recommendations for this session. So with the sessions, the speakers, and the company.
Yeah. So a couple of
right.
Neo4j presentation that works, and
exactly.
another
So
one
if you
from AppsFlyer.
exactly.
Yeah.
And if you wanted to, we could actually also return the original session as well, and show basically across which attributes it connects to the session to.
Yeah.
So,
mm-hmm.
So if you run this then again, recommendation 4, and then what was it? The
99%, yeah.
Then it should show us also our original session, this one.
Yep.
And then these are all the attributes, like the topics and use cases and type of session and other things that these other sessions are sharing with our original session as well. So that's kind of a visual representation of the recommendation. So that's kind of the shared overlap. And then these sessions are the top 5 sessions that overlap with this.
That overlap most.
Source session. Yeah, good idea to.
Yeah, that's perfect. And then you can see, right, depending, it could, like you said before, I mean, this is now beyond the limits, but you can then add other constraints or other things.
Exactly.
You say, okay, I'm interested in.
You could exclude, for instance, the general thing.
Exactly.
The
say, okay,
exactly. Stuff like that, then.
Yeah, I only want recommendations from industry, healthcare, because that's my.
Or only exactly, or only from industries and use cases or something.
Yeah, yeah,
right?
or this, yeah, exactly.
You can limit this actually. Like, when you get a screenshot of this for the blog post. It's a good idea. To put it in here. And so. Super.
Cool.
And I think with that, we are also on time. I think I showed everything that I wanted to show. If you want to learn more about the daytime stuff, so there's a manual entry here. I'll add it to the blog post as well, so you can see it, and you can find the blog post with some details. So I add a little bit more to it as well. And so from that perspective, that's something where you find more detail than here as well.
Yeah, and the link to that. Sorry, the link to that will be in the video description on YouTube. So if you're wondering where to find it, that's where it is. If you have any other questions, obviously post them in as a comment to YouTube or tweet us to our respective channels, or discuss with us in our community forums or Discord. Speaking of community forums, there will be a relaunch later this week. So another short teaser. It's going to happen, I think, on Thursday. So if you are part of the community, look out for that. If you are interested in going to GraphConnect again, 10 first 10 get a free ticket if they
Yeah.
email michael@neo4j.com.
Yep.
The rest use Community 50 as a discount code for 50% off of your ticket. It's going to be fun. It's going to be nice. It's no rats allowed at GraphConnect. But
unfortunately, otherwise I would have brought her.
Companion
She
animal,
was
maybe
really
that's
interested
allowed.
in the comfort animals, right? So
Yeah.
aren't they just comfort animals?
Yeah. If you want to meet Michael without a rat, go to GraphConnect next week. Otherwise, you probably have to come to Dresden
exactly.
to see the rat. Cool.
Sounds
Thank you, Michael. That was fun. It was cool. I think it shows again we didn't go into much detail about what different talks are happening at GraphConnect, but you can explore yourselves with this. I think it shows there's a wide variety of topics, industries, use cases going to be offered. So whatever is your interest is going to be taken care of for sure next week. It's going to be fun. And we're looking forward to that. We will take a break because of GraphConnect. So this stream here, Discovering AuraDB Free, will not take place over the next 2 weeks. But
we'll do a live session, right? So we'll do a live session about Discover AuraDB Free.
We'll try to do something at GraphConnect. So we'll see what's possible. We will definitely do something else tomorrow. We have Aura office hour. So if you have any questions, anything you'd like to know on Aura, but also on the wider Neo4j implementations or questions on Cypher or Bloom, drop in tomorrow at 5 p.m. So basically this time, 5 p.m. CEST. So exactly this time now, but tomorrow, we will go over your questions. And on Wednesday, Florent is doing another session on the PHP driver. So this is this week. Again, hopefully see you at GraphConnect next week. And hope you had a good time. Take care, everybody. See you soon. And until next time. Bye.
See you. Bye.